Unlike the primary election, you won't be able to mail in your ballot unless you qualify. Good evening, everyone. I'm Linda Jackson.
And I'm Tom Powell. We're glad you're here tonight. As Fort Wayne's NBC reporter Corinne Rose explains, Allen County's early voting begins in less than a month, and it will look different than it did in the primary.
You do have to have a reason to get a mailed absentee ballot in the mail.
Allen County's election director says unlike Indiana's primary election that allowed anyone to send in an absentee ballot, you'll need to meet one of 12 criteria to get one for the November election.
If you have a reasonable expectation of being out of the county on election day, or if you're working the entire 12 hours that the polls will be open, or if you will be confined because of a disability or an illness.
DeLug says the election board has already received more applications for absentee ballots than were returned in 2016.
In the 2016 election, we only had a little over 10,000 people that voted by mail, and we already have 14,000 applications.
Postage for all those ballots mailed to people and sent back in put an enormous strain on the election board's budget. DeLug says she asked County Council a few weeks ago for $240,000 to be able to function through the end of the year.
When we planned at the beginning of the year maybe to have somewhere around 15,000 absentee ballots go out for the total of the year, and now we're looking at something like 80,000 ballots for the total of the year, it does, yes, increase the cost for voting.
Unlike the primary, where early voting was set up for a month before the election at the Grand Wayne Center, early voting will now be held at the Memorial Coliseum, the temporary socially distanced home of the election board. A handful of satellite locations around Fort Wayne will open several days before the election as well. Your polling place may change because there will be 70 voting locations, which is fewer than the typical 116 of them, in order to reduce the number of poll workers needed.
The voters are actually going to come in, vote, and leave, and spend a short period of time with in that location, where the poll workers are staying all day long, sometimes as long as 15 hours. So reduce the number of poll workers is the guidance that we're going under.
Election Day is scheduled to be November 3rd. Corinne Rose, Fort Wayne's NBC.
And by the way, there will be no charge to park at the Coliseum if you go there to vote early.